My name is Vanessa, and I'm 30 years old. I'm a dedicated manager in Knoxville, Tennessee. My younger brother used my house for his engagement party. But that wasn't the worst part. I worked tirelessly for years, enduring late nights and high-stakes deals to finally purchase my dream home. A place that loudly declares, I made it. Every inch of it was earned. So, when my brother charmed me into letting him use it for his special day, I thought I was doing the family a favor. I set strict rules, believing they would keep things under control. I was wrong. The day after his extravagant party, he arrived with a moving truck, a glaring symbol of his betrayal and his bold attempt to take my home. He locked eyes with me and declared, "This house is mine." I didn't shout or flinch. I stood there, arms crossed, a smirk on my face because my lawyer and friend were waiting at the door. How did my own family turn on me? It's a wild ride of lies, schemes, and a fight I never expected. Stick around. You won't believe how I put an end to it. Drop it in the comments and smash that subscribe button. It keeps this channel alive. Let me take you back to how all of this started. As a fund manager in Knoxville, Tennessee, I've spent years grinding through late nights, cutthroat deals, and outsmarting the market to build a life I'm proud of. 2 years ago, I bought my dream home, a modern villa, every brick earned through my own sweat. It's my sanctuary, my proof that I made it. But to my family, it was a shiny prize they thought they could claim. My younger brother, Justin, 27, is a freelancer who's never quite found his footing. One failed gig after another, always propped up by our parents. His girlfriend, Tiffany, 26, has a charm that feels rehearsed, always smiling, but lacking substance. Our mom, Susan, treats Justin like he's untouchable. He's just finding his way, she'd say, waving off his latest mess. Our dad, Carl, stays quiet, always avoiding conflict. It was early spring when Susan called. "Vanessa, we need your house," she said, her tone a mix of warmth and guilt. She wanted my villa for Justin and Tiffany's engagement party, a charity event to make them look good. I wasn't thrilled. My home isn't a rental space, but Susan pressed hard. "It's for family," she insisted. "You've done so well. Share a little." Carl chimed in, "It'll mean a lot to your brother." The pressure felt like a vice tightening. I gave in, but with strict rules. 100 guests max, I told them. "Done by 10 at night. No changes to my house," Susan agreed. Too quickly. First warning sign. Later, Justin called, all charm. "Sis, you're a lifesaver," he said, his voice too smooth. Tiffany texted, "This is going to be epic." Epic for who, I wondered. The next few weeks were a flood of messages. Tiffany pushed to extend the party past midnight, claiming it would boost the charity vibe. She also wanted a live auction during the event, which would require extra setup and time. I shut it down. "Town king, no exceptions," I replied. Justin promised they'd stick to the plan, but his promises were flimsy. Susan's calls grew sharper. "Why can't you be flexible?" she snapped. "It's just one night." One night in my house, which I'd earned. While Justin coasted, I confided in my friend Edward, a 40-year-old lawyer who's had my back for years. Over coffee, he leaned forward, eyes serious. "They're testing your boundaries," he said. "Get a contract in writing." I wanted to believe family wouldn't screw me over, but his words stuck. Susan's favoritism wasn't new. Growing up, Justin got new gear while I scraped by. He crashed Dad's car, no big deal. I missed a deadline. Lectures for weeks. I'd built my life away from their drama, but letting them use my house felt like inviting it back. As the party date loomed, my unease grew. Tiffany kept texting about small tweaks, more chairs, a bigger stage for the auction. Justin brushed off my concerns. "Chill, sis. It's under control," he said, his tone too casual. Susan called daily, asking about my house's layout like she was mapping it out. Why did she care so much? My gut churned. I started saving every text, every email, just in case. Edward noticed my tension. "You're too smart to let this slide," he said, his voice firm. "Lock down that contract." I nodded, but I wasn't prepared for how far this would go. My villa was my pride, my proof that I didn't need anyone's handouts. There was no way I was letting family, or anyone, mess with that. The warning signs started piling up fast. I'd laid down clear rules for my brother's engagement party. 100 guests, done by 10, no changes to my house. But Justin and Tiffany had their own agenda. The caterer called me, sounding rattled, saying they'd been told to prepare for 150 guests. 50 extra. That wasn't a mistake. It was intentional. Then Tiffany emailed, all cheery, asking to revamp my backyard with a pergola and new landscaping for the event. My patience was wearing thin. They were pushing my limits, treating my rules like mere suggestions. That evening I called Justin. "Why are there 50 extra guests?" I asked, my voice calm but firm. He chuckled as if it were no big deal. "Sis, just a few more people. Relax." Relax? This was my home, my boundaries. I reminded him of our agreement, but he dodged. "It's all good," he said, his tone evasive. Tiffany texted shortly after, "Vanessa, we're just making it special." Special for who? I thought. The next morning, my colleague Barbara, 35, pulled me aside at work. She'd overheard something troubling from a party supplier. Tiffany had been bragging about using the house long-term after the event. Long-term? My heart sank. Barbara's no nonsense. She doesn't exaggerate. "Watch your back," she said, her eyes serious. "That sounds like more than a party." I decided to confront Justin face to face. I drove to our parents' house, where he was sprawled on the couch looking smug. "Justin, we agreed on 100 guests," I said, standing tall. "And no backyard changes." "What's this about?" He shrugged, grinning. "You're blowing this out of proportion, sis. It's just a party." Tiffany, perched nearby, nodded. "We're doing this for charity, Vanessa. Chill." Her smile was forced, like a mask slipping. Before I could press further, our mom, Susan, stepped in. "Vanessa, why are you being so difficult?" She snapped, her voice heavy with judgment. "Family helps family. You've got that big house. Let your brother shine." Her words cut deep, painting me as the villain for protecting what I'd earned. Our dad, Carl, tried to play mediator. "Let's all take a breath," he said. But his neutrality left me feeling cornered. I stood my ground. "The rules don't change," I said, my voice steady. 100 guests, no landscaping done by 10. Justin rolled his eyes, muttering about me being uptight. Tiffany pouted like I'd ruined their plans. Susan sighed in exasperation. "You're so successful, Vanessa. Why can't you share?" I'd already opened my home for their event. What else did they expect? Susan called later, piling on the guilt. "You're embarrassing your brother," she said, her tone sharp. "This is his moment." I clenched my jaw, tired of her bias. Justin had always been the golden child, skipping responsibilities, wasting money, getting second chances. I'd built my life from the ground up while he leaned on handouts. Now they were treating my home like his personal stage. I started saving their messages, Tiffany's pushy texts, Justin's vague replies. Barbara's warning about long-term use nagged at me. Were they just reckless, or was there something bigger going on? I wasn't sure, but I wasn't taking any chances. I double-checked my security system and ensured my locks were tight. With the party a month away, their demands kept coming. Tiffany pushed for a new sound system to set the mood. Justin asked to borrow my patio furniture for extra seating. Each request tested my resolve. Susan's guilt trips grew heavier. "Your brother's struggling," she said during one call. Struggling? I'd earned every inch of my home. What was his excuse? I refused to budge. My house was my boundary, my hard-won victory. But the more I pushed back, the more alone I felt. Susan's lectures, Justin's smirks, Tiffany's fake charm, it was all building up. I knew I had to stay vigilant because something told me this was only the start. One Sunday at my parents' house, everything changed. I had gone over for a family lunch, expecting the usual small talk and Susan's subtle jabs about my selfishness. But what I heard that day turned my world upside down. My cousin Tracy, 33, pulled me aside after dessert. Her face was tense, her voice low. "We need to talk," she said, glancing toward the living room where Justin, Tiffany, and Tiffany's brother, Trevor, 29, were laughing with Susan. Tracy led me to the porch, out of earshot. "I overheard something last night," she whispered. "Justin, Tiffany, and Trevor were talking at a bar. They're planning something big, and it's about your house." My stomach dropped. She continued, her words careful but urgent. "They mentioned forging documents to claim your villa like it's legally theirs. Trevor was all in, saying he'd handle the paperwork because he's done it before." Forging documents for my house? I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Tracy wasn't done. There's more, she said hesitantly. Tiffany kept talking about being pregnant, saying it would seal the deal with your family, but I don't buy it. She was drinking heavily, 3 cocktails, no hesitation. I think she's lying to guilt you. My head spun. Tiffany pregnant? It didn't add up, but it fit her playbook. Manipulate, charm, control. I pressed Tracy for details. She had been at the bar with friends when she spotted them in a corner booth, oblivious to her presence. Justin had been cocky, saying, "Once we pull this off, the house is ours." Tiffany giggled, adding, "Vanessa won't know what hit her." Trevor, all business, said they'd use family pressure to make it look legit. Tracy's voice shook as she recounted it. "I couldn't believe they'd go this far," she said. "Your family?" I stood there frozen, my mind racing. My brother, the one I'd bailed out of messes growing up, was plotting to steal my home, the villa I'd poured my life into. And Tiffany, with her fake smiles, was playing dirty with a fake pregnancy. It was a betrayal I hadn't seen coming. Susan's favoritism flashed through my mind. Those years of Justin getting a free pass. Was she in on this too? I glanced inside. Justin was joking with Carl, carefree as ever. Tiffany caught my eye and flashed that too sweet smile. Trevor, quiet but smug, sipped his drink. I wanted to storm in, confront them all. But Tracy grabbed my arm. "Don't," she warned. "They'll deny it. You need proof." She was right. I needed to be smart, not emotional. Back inside, Susan pulled me into the kitchen. "You're so quiet today," she said, her tone probing. "Everything okay?" I forced a nod, my heart pounding. I couldn't tip them off. Carl joined us, sensing the tension. "You two good?" he asked, his usual peacemaker routine. I mumbled something vague, my mind elsewhere. All I could think about was their plan. Forged papers, fake pregnancy, my house in their crosshairs. Driving home, I replayed Tracy's words. Her honesty wasn't a surprise. She'd always been straight with me, the one family member who didn't play favorites. But Justin, I'd given him so much money for rent, job leads, and now my house for his party. And Tiffany, her charity event was starting to feel like a cover. Trevor's involvement made it worse, a stranger in my family's drama, scheming against me. I couldn't shake the shock. My house wasn't just a building. It was my proof I'd made it. Despite Susan's bias, despite Justin's free rides, the idea of them stealing it felt like a knife in my back. But anger was creeping in too. They thought I'd roll over. They didn't know me at all. I started piecing it together. Tiffany's pushiness, Justin's dodgy answers, Susan's guilt trips. They weren't random. They were building towards something bigger. Tracy's warning was a lifeline, but I needed more than her word. I checked my phone, scrolling through their texts, looking for clues. Nothing solid yet, but I wasn't letting this go. My home was mine, and I'd fight for it. I knew I had to protect what was mine. Tracy's warning about Justin, Tiffany, and Trevor's plan to forge documents and claim my house lit a fire under me. I wasn't going to let my brother or anyone take what I'd worked so hard for. The next morning, I called my friend Edward, a lawyer whose no-nonsense attitude always cut through the noise. "We need to meet," I said, my voice tight. "It's urgent." Edward met me at a coffee shop, his sharp eyes scanning my face as I spilled everything. The forged papers, Tiffany's possible fake pregnancy, Trevor's role. He leaned back, arms crossed, his jaw set. "They're playing a dangerous game," he said, his tone all business. "First, we lock down your defenses. Install security cameras around your property, every angle, high resolution. If they try anything, we'll have evidence." I nodded, his confidence steadying me. Next, he added, "Get Justin to sign a contract. Make it crystal clear he's only borrowing the house for one night. No claims, no extensions." I liked the plan. It was proactive, airtight. Edward drafted a contract that day, a single page stating the party was a one-time event with no rights to my property. I texted Justin to meet me, keeping it casual. "Need to go over party details?" I wrote. He agreed, probably thinking he could charm his way through. At my house, I slid the contract across the table. "Sign this," I said, my voice firm. "It confirms our agreement one night." "No funny business." Justin's smile faltered, his eyes narrowing. "What's this about, sis?" he asked, trying to play it cool. "Just protecting my home. I replied, holding his gaze. He signed, but his hesitation screamed guilt. Susan got wind of it and called me that evening, her voice dripping with judgment. "Vanessa, why are you making your brother sign papers?" she demanded. "You're so selfish, not thinking about the next generation." Her words cut like a blade, framing me as a heartless career woman who didn't care about family. The generational jab stung. I'd built my life to secure my future, not to hand it over to Justin's schemes. "This is my home, Mom," I said, digging in my heels. "I'm protecting what's mine." She huffed, accusing me of tearing the family apart. "You've always been too independent," she said. The call ended with her hanging up, leaving me seething. I turned to our dad, Carl, 58, hoping he'd see reason. Over lunch, I explained the contract and my fears about Justin's plan. Carl rubbed his temples, his usual peacemaker role crumbling. "Can't you two work this out?" he pleaded. "We're family," I shook my head. "Family doesn't plot to steal your home, Dad." He sighed, caught between us, unable to bridge the gap. His failure to take a side left me feeling more alone, but it hardened my resolve. I hired a security company that week, installing cameras at every entrance and around the perimeter of my villa. The tech guy walked me through the system: motion sensors, night vision, cloud backups. "No one sneaking in without you knowing," he assured me. It felt like fortifying a castle, but I wasn't taking any chances. I also backed up all my property documents, storing copies with Edward and in a safe. If they wanted to play dirty, I'd be ready. Susan's pressure didn't let up. She texted daily, each message heavier with guilt. "Your brother needs support," she wrote. "Why can't you think about his future?" His future? What about mine? I'd clawed my way up while Justin leaned on her excuses. Her talk of the next generation felt like a ploy to justify his greed. I stopped responding, focusing instead on my plan. Justin tried calling, probably sensing I was onto him. "Sis, why all the tension?" he asked, his voice all charm. I kept it short. "Just stick to the rules, Justin." His silence spoke volumes. Tiffany sent a text too, all sweetness. "Can't wait for the party." I didn't reply. Their act wasn't fooling me anymore. Edward checked in regularly, his tone sharp and focused. "You're doing the right thing," he said during one call. "Stay one step ahead." His words kept me grounded. I wasn't just fighting for my house. I was fighting for everything I'd built. The party was weeks away, and I was preparing for the worst. If Justin and Tiffany thought they could outsmart me, they were in for a surprise. The day of the engagement party finally arrived. I'd steeled myself, knowing my older brother Justin and Tiffany were up to no good. But their boldness still caught me off guard. My house was swarmed with far more than the 100 guests we'd agreed on. I counted nearly 150 people mingling, sipping drinks, clogging my space. Then I saw the sound system, an enormous unapproved setup blasting music, replacing my authorized speakers. They'd blatantly violated the contract Justin signed. My pulse raced, but I held my ground, watching from the sidelines. Tracy, my cousin, slipped through the crowd and pulled me to a secluded corner. "You need to hear this now," she said, her voice low, handing me her phone. She recorded Tiffany and Trevor talking outside my house this morning. Tiffany's voice came through smug and clear. "The pregnancy's fake," she said, laughing softly. "It's just to mess with Vanessa's head." Trevor snorted. "Family pressure always breaks her kind." The words hit like a knife, confirming their manipulation. They weren't just breaking rules, they were playing me for a fool. I glanced across the party. Justin was charming guests, acting like he owned my villa. Tiffany glided around, her smile sharp and insincere. I pulled up my security cameras on my phone, Edward's idea proving its worth, and saw caterers setting up extra tables, unauthorized, to handle the oversized crowd. This wasn't a slip-up. It was a deliberate middle finger to my boundaries. The contract, my rules, my trust, all tossed aside. I caught Justin by the bar, away from prying ears. "We set a limit of 100 guests," I said, my tone icy. "And my sound system was approved. You broke the contract." He flashed a cocky grin, leaning against the counter. "Little sis, it's a party. Take it easy. Nobody's keeping score." His casual dismissal pushed me to the edge. "And Tiffany's fake pregnancy," I said, holding up Tracy's phone. She admitted it's a lie to manipulate me. What's your angle, Justin? His grin wavered, but he brushed it off. You're blowing this out of proportion, he said, chuckling. It's just a mix-up. A mix-up? My fist clenched, but I kept my voice level. You invited 50 extra people, swapped my sound system, and Tiffany's lying to control me, I said, stepping closer. This stops now, Justin shrugged, deflecting. Talk to Tiffany. She's just excited. His nonchalance made my skin crawl. I wanted to call him out louder, but I knew they'd spin any outburst to make me look unhinged. Susan swooped in, her expression a mix of worry and reproach. Vanessa, you're spoiling their night, she said, pulling me aside. Why can't you let this slide? Her words stung, but I was done with her favoritism. They're trampling my rules. Mom, I shot back. This is my home. She rolled her eyes, dismissing me. It's for charity, she said, as if that erased their betrayal. Carl, our dad, stood nearby, looking uncomfortable. Can't we handle this later? He asked, his voice weak. I shook my head, too furious for delays. I stepped back, my thoughts spinning. Tracy's recording proved Tiffany's pregnancy was a sham, a calculated move to weaken me, likely tied to their plan to claim my house. The extra guests, the sound system, these were intentional power grabs testing how far they could push. I checked the cameras again, catching Trevor directing staff to move my furniture. Another breach. Their arrogance was infuriating. I found Tracy again, away from the chaos. Thank you for the evidence, I said, my voice steady despite the rage inside. Keep your eyes peeled. She nodded, her face grim. They're not backing off, she said. The party roared on, music pounding, guests oblivious to the deceit unfolding. My home felt like a battleground, overrun by people who thought they could take it. I wasn't folding. Justin's fake charm, Tiffany's lies, Susan's bias, they'd underestimated me. The cameras were rolling. The contract was ironclad. And I had proof of their deception. The air was thick with tension, but I was ready for their next play. This was my home, and I'd defend it to the end. The morning after the party, my security system alerted me. A loud beep from my phone showed a truck pulling into my driveway uninvited. I checked the camera feed and saw my older brother Justin stepping out, Tiffany and Trevor right behind him. Justin held a stack of papers, his face smug. My heart raced. This was it. Their move to claim my house. I texted Edward, my friend and lawyer, immediately. They're here with a truck, I typed. Need you now, he replied instantly. On my way. Stay calm. I stepped outside, my stomach churning, but my resolve stone cold. Justin strode toward me, waving the papers. This house is mine, he declared, his voice loud, almost theatrical. These documents prove it. I glanced at the papers. They looked official, but Tracy's warning about forged documents echoed in my head. Tiffany stood by Justin, her expression defiant, while Trevor leaned against the truck, arms crossed, like he was waiting for a show. You're trespassing, I said, my voice steady. That contract you signed says you have no claim to my house. Justin laughed, a sharp, mocking sound. Little sis, you're out of your depth, he said. This is family property now. The words hit like a punch, but I didn't flinch. Tiffany chimed in, her tone dripping with fake concern. We just want what's fair, Vanessa. Trevor nodded, silent but smirking. Their confidence made my skin crawl. They thought they'd won. Edward's car screeched into the driveway, and he stepped out, his presence commanding. What's going on? He demanded, eyeing the papers in Justin's hand. I explained quickly. The truck, the fake documents, Justin's bold claim. Edward's eyes narrowed. Those papers are worthless, he said, his voice cutting. Vanessa's title is ironclad. You're on her property and you're not welcome. He pulled out his phone, already dialing. I'm calling the police to enforce a trespass notice. Justin's smirk faded, but he doubled down. You can't kick us out, he said, stepping closer. This is my home too. Tiffany nodded, playing the victim. You're tearing the family apart, she said, her eyes glinting. I wanted to scream, but Edward's hand on my shoulder kept me grounded. Don't engage, he whispered. Let the law handle this. The police arrived within minutes, 2 officers stepping out of their cruiser. I handed them my property deed and the contract Justin signed, explaining the situation, the unauthorized truck, the forged papers, the violation of my rights. Edward backed me up, his tone professional but firm. "These individuals are trespassing," he said, pointing to Justin, Tiffany, and Trevor. "They've presented fraudulent documents to claim this property." The officers reviewed my paperwork, then turned to Justin. "You need to leave," one said, his voice calm but authoritative. Justin protested, waving his papers. "This proves it's mine," he shouted. The officer shook his head. "Those don't hold up," he said. "You're on private property without permission." Tiffany started arguing, but the second officer cut her off. "Ma'am, you're risking arrest," he warned. Trevor stayed quiet, his earlier smugness gone. Then Susan showed up, her car pulling in behind the truck. She rushed toward us, tears streaming down her face. "Vanessa, how could you do this to your brother?" She cried, her voice breaking. "He's family." Her sobs felt like a trap designed to guilt me into backing down. "Mom, he's trying to steal my home," I said, my voice firm. "I'm protecting what's mine." Susan shook her head, clutching Justin's arm. "You're so selfish," she said, her words trembling. "You're breaking us apart." I felt a pang, but I wasn't budging. "This isn't about family," I said. "It's about right and wrong." Edward nodded, his expression unwavering. "The police are here for a reason, Susan," he said. "They're breaking the law." The officers stepped in, directing Justin, Tiffany, and Trevor to leave. "You've got 10 minutes, one said, "or we'll escort you out." Justin glared at me, his face red with anger. "This isn't over, little sis," he said, tossing the fake papers on the ground. Tiffany grabbed his arm, whispering something while Trevor climbed into the truck, avoiding my eyes. Susan stood there still crying, but I turned away. I'd had enough of her excuses, their lies, their betrayal. The police stayed until the truck pulled out, leaving my driveway empty. Edward turned to me as the officers left. "You did the right thing," he said, his voice steady. I nodded, my heart heavy, but my resolve intact. My house was still mine, but the fight had left scars. I wasn't done yet. I'd make sure they couldn't try this again. I decided it was time to end this once and for all. After Justin, Tiffany, and Trevor's stunt with the truck and fake papers, I was done with their games. My home was mine, and I wasn't letting their lies slide. With Edward's guidance, I took Justin and Tiffany to court. Filing a lawsuit for forging documents and attempting to steal my property, Edward, sharp as ever, built an airtight case using the contract Justin signed, my property deed, and Tracy's recording of Tiffany admitting her fake pregnancy. The evidence was undeniable, and I wanted justice. Edward suggested going public. "They've been banking on your silence," he said, his voice steady. "Expose them," I hesitated. Airing family drama online felt raw, exposing. But he was right. Their manipulation thrived in the shadows. So I posted a detailed account on social media, sharing the contract, a transcript of Tracy's recording, and footage from my security cameras showing their violations at the party. I kept it factual. No embellishments, just the truth. Justin and Tiffany tried to take my home with lies and forged papers. The post spread fast, racking up thousands of views in hours. The fallout was swift. Family members, distant cousins, even aunts I hadn't spoken to in years messaged me, shocked. Many had bought Justin's charm and Tiffany's sob stories, but the evidence flipped the script. Tracy called, her voice grim but supportive. "They're done," she said. "No one's buying their act anymore." Friends and neighbors in Knoxville reached out, offering support. Justin and Tiffany's reputations crumbled. Their charity event, once a shining badge, now looked like a scam to fund their scheme. Social media comments piled up, calling them out for their greed. Justin tried to save face, posting a vague apology online, claiming it was all a misunderstanding. Tiffany doubled down, accusing me of attacking family, but their words fell flat against the hard proof. The court date loomed, and Edward was relentless, preparing every detail. When the hearing came, the judge didn't hesitate. "This is a clear case of fraud," the judge said, ruling in my favor. Justin and Tiffany were ordered to pay legal fees and damages, a sum in the thousands of dollars. They didn't have the money, and their public humiliation only grew. The family split apart. Most relatives cut contact with Justin and Tiffany, disgusted by their actions. I heard through Tracy that they packed up and moved to Arizona, where Tiffany's family lived, probably hoping for a fresh start. I didn't care where they went. I was done with them. Justin sent me a text before they left, a weak attempt at reconciliation. "Little sis, can we talk?" he wrote. I didn't respond. His betrayal ran too deep, and I wasn't falling for another act. Susan was another story. She called, her voice heavy with tears, begging me to forgive Justin. "He's your brother," she said, as if that erased everything. Her words cut like a blade, but I'd heard enough of her guilt trips. "Mom, he tried to steal my home," I said, my tone flat. "I'm done." She cried harder, accusing me of abandoning family, but I hung up. Her refusal to see the truth cemented my decision. I cut contact with her completely. It hurt, but I couldn't keep carrying her bias. Carl was different. Our dad called a few times, his voice soft, hesitant. "I just want to check on you," he said, avoiding the drama. I kept our talks short, mostly about his health or neutral topics. He hadn't taken sides, but he hadn't stood up for me either. Limited contact felt right, enough to maintain a thread, but not enough to pull me back into the mess. The whole ordeal taught me hard lessons. Protecting my boundaries wasn't selfish. It was survival. Justin and Tiffany's manipulation showed me that some people, even family, will cross any line for their own gain. Their lies cost them everything. Their reputation, their place in the family, their foothold in Knoxville. I learned to trust my instincts, to value my worth, and to stand firm no matter who pushed back. My house wasn't just a building. It was a symbol of everything I'd built, everything I'd fought for. Edward checked in after the dust settled. "You're stronger than they ever gave you credit for," he said, a rare smile breaking his usual serious demeanor. I nodded, feeling a quiet pride. The scars from this fight would stay, but so would the strength I'd gained. I'd protected what was mine, and I'd do it again without hesitation.